Hello everyone, good morning, welcome back to Gwent. My name is Rooster and this is a bit of an experiment. I've been asking around for a deck list to try and get into Scoia'Tael a little bit, because it's one of the harder factions to get into, and you may need some pretty expensive cards to really make the deck tick. But I got a decent list from the friendly people on the Scoia'Tael Discord. You can probably find that one on the Gwent Reddit. There's a nice Discord channel for all your Gwent business, basically. I was recommended the list, and this is not that list. Let me be clear about that. The list requires a couple more cards, and of course I have plenty of dust to craft the list. But I thought I would give it a spin just with the cards I had, and I had to make a few substitutions. Most notably, Trapper is looking a little strange in this list. Lacerate is definitely not core. I'm running with Yennefer, Siri, and Igni. Those would also be replaced, and I think one of these cards also is moved out. Oh, and of course Yarpen is a little odd, but I needed the silver basically, and he's proven to be rather consistent, surprisingly. So definitely not an optimal list, and I've only really played casual with it, but it is a useful tool to see how the deck plays, and see if it's anything, if it's your cup of tea, basically. So let's go into some casual matches and find out. I've been playing this deck for a few hours, I think. Have been having a lot of fun with it, although my casual matchmaking rating is still rather trashy, so I'm not sure whether it's a really good indication of the deck list being decent. And also I'm mid-level 19 right now, so I was just going to wait until level 20 to craft any cards, because at level 20 you get your free decoy card, which is a very good card in this very deck. So I thought I might as well just try the deck out a little bit before we're biting the bullet on crafting any of those. So let's give it a try. Now, Francesca has some really interesting mulligan mechanics, and the advice I was given is to use your mulligans to optimize your faction ability here. So Francesca lets you redraw 3 cards, but redrawing keeps in mind all the cards you've already redrawn can't be selected as your new card. So for example, I would like to select First Light here, and that means my redraws can never give me a First Light again this game. Same for the Blue Mountain Commando, Elven Mercenary, and there we go. So I can never draw those cards again, which means that my deck now contains 9 cards that I cannot draw with Francesca. And let's take a look at my deck. That means that Francesca can only select from 6 cards right now, which are all pretty good cards actually, because there's one Hawker Healer, there's no Vanguards because I have 3 of those, so let's start out playing one of those. And for the rest of it, it's only silver and gold cards. So Francesca will exchange some cards in my hand for better cards, basically. And that really improves your ability to use Francesca optimally. So that's a really interesting thing, I thought. And I was going to try that out a little bit. Now the question remains, do we want to lose this round? Because we have Siron and Siri, which might be a little bit of overkill, but we could go for that. We could also try a Vanguard if he's starting out with Eredin. I'm not sure. I'm actually willing to risk this one here. Although I could also place it in a ranged row, see if there's any foglets. But I'm betting on Wild Hunt Warriors, and if those get stuck in his hand, then that's a good thing for me. So let's give this a try. Probably not the optimum way to use the Trapper, of course, but we can work with this. Now a second Vanguard would bring us up to equal strength with our opponent, so that's nice. Would like to not overextend it to one row, because even though we have the Hawker Healer, Eridan decks are known to include weather, so a little scared. Actually, is he going to want to win this round? He might just pass after this. No, we can't get more than 9 with one. Actually, we can. Let's grab the lead. I think 9 is not enough. So let's nerf Eridan a little bit and actually grab the lead so our opponents can't pass here, which is a good thing. Alright, Swallow Potion again. So we can now grab the lead with a Riyadh Vanguard, which is good. Let's place it not in the melee row because he kinda wants to Frost, I think. Might just get the Commando in the melee row anyway. Let's place a Vanguard over here. Spread the risk a little bit. Gwent sign. Well, this looks like a good time to pass, even though he can actually take the win with one card, which I don't like. So this would be a good opportunity to, for example, use Serum, because if he passes, yeah, I think I kind of like that. If he passes here, then we're actually tying. I'm not sure if a tie is any good, but it could be okay. If you tie, you don't lose, right? So we don't get Serum back, but actually, if Ciri gives us the win here, then I'm actually okay with it. I'm not about to just yield to our opponent here. Yield and save me some time. But yeah, I think he wants to grab this win, but I'm not sure whether he can. Another Swallow Potion, alright. So he's planning on winning this one, and if he does, we don't have a good answer to a really big Eridan right now. That's kind of troublesome. We can't move him, we can't weather him. Usually our answer to really big stuff is weather, but that's not going to work with Aeromancy here. Let's go with Serum, see if he wants to give us the win still. 30 strength Eridan is really awkward. I guess we do have Igni, so we can try and fish for that one with Francesca. That would be nice, sure. Well, I think we pass. At least we get our 2 cards back, and then we can try and fish for Igni. I think that's going to be the way to go, unfortunately, because we can't beat this right now. This is a really all-in strat, and if we had a Scorch, then we would have been screwed, but I think he had a pretty good read on us not having that. At least we've got the card advantage here, but he can just choose and pass, which is kind of awkward. Let's see what we can do. Of course, our draws are not influenced by the mulligan process. He won, so we're going to ignore because we want him to start anyway. The only way we're killing this is by removing it anyway, so I'm not sure what the Gwent sign's purpose is. Let's go with Francesca and see if we can get something useful. First of all, there's no more Vanguards in our deck, so that's okay. We can actually mulligan away the Hawker Healer, so we don't draw the other one. And then mulligan Ciaran. There's Igni, alright. That's exactly what we're looking for. And Ciri is rather weak right now, so we can also mulligan her away. So the chances of us getting Igni in those 3 cards were actually really big, because a lot of cards in our deck were excluded from the mulligan process. And that's a really neat trick to keep in mind. So Igni destroys the Eridan, and now we can use the Scoia'Tael passive to make him start the last round, which means we're slightly ahead. Our hand might be a little awkward, because we didn't really pay too much attention to that, but I think we're okay. We have a lot of anti-weather, and we can also just use that to get new minions out of our deck. We have every single special card in our hand right now, which is also really bad, and it is something you should probably keep in mind. I should have probably kept Ciri in retrospect and thrown away the Aeromancy, I think, because I really don't like Aeromancy against monsters. So I usually mulligan that one away. That's a really weak card for him, so that's actually really good for us. I think we start out with a Fireball Trap, because we need to play that early to make good use of it. Attacks the Manticore, that's not ideal, but it's okay. Let's hope we don't get any mercenaries with our first lights. I do think we need to start using those. Oh, actually there's a Commander's Horn in here right now. Do we wish to use Nature's Gift on Commander's Horn? Or are we content just using it on first light? If we want to use it on Commander's Horn, we should definitely use the Vanguard first. I guess we could leave the option open, right? So start out with the Vanguard. It also gives us... Would you not yell that much, please? Wow. So aggressive. Alright, immune to damage. That's not really too much of an issue right now. So I think we could Commander's Horn. We lose the option if we use any special card right now, which is a little annoying. But Commander's Horn for only 7 strength is actually rather unimpressive, so might as well just use it as a rally, I think. Mercenaries a little disappointing, unfortunately. We don't have any more special cards in our deck, but that's just the way it is, I'm afraid. We do have a lot of anti-weather, so don't need to be too scared of that. Aeromancy on the Siege Row does not affect the Manticore, unfortunately. But I don't know what to expect from our opponent's deck. He might just not have a lot of minions left. That's going to be really awkward for him. Okay, keep an eye on the Nature's Gift, because that's a clear skies right now. Oh, kills his own cow, that's a nice one. So I guess we can actually Aeromancy for Frost now, to gain some meaningful benefit. I think I like that. But we don't necessarily need to do that right now, unless he has another Quen sign. Do we wish to take that risk? I do think that's worth the risk. If he wants to run 3 Quen signs in his deck, that's really odd. Let's rally again, and see if we get anything useful. Any use in overcommitting on 1 row? Yes, actually we could get a Hawker Healer. So let's focus on 1 row. We can clear weather if needed, so that's okay. We could get a Hawker Healer with our rally effect, so that's fine. Starts buffing that one. There's not much we can do about that, except maybe Lacerate and then weather. That's not the worst idea either. I'm thinking I'm keeping a first light right now. We could actually Thunderbolt Potion. That only works on the same row, right? Let me quickly check the Thunderbolt Potion here. All instances of a non-gold unit on its side. So we could actually use it on Commando Neophytes and get an 8 value out of it. We could Lacerate now and then have weather affect the Manticore again. Is that worth? I'm not sure whether that's actually worth it right now. Let's go and use the Nature's Gift first. Oh, actually, I was thinking that was still... I was just talking about the Nature's Gift into Thunderbolt Potion, and I completely forgot and thought it was a first light again. Still not awful, but a little weak against possible weather from our opponent, I guess. This is a really strange deck we're facing right now. Right, that's kind of okay. That could be much worse. Of course, he couldn't have used the Igni if we hadn't used the Thunderbolt Potion, but that's kind of fine. He's on 24 right now. How do I feel about this? We can still Frost, but Frost is actually a little weak right now. So I'm thinking we actually Lacerate this so we're able to weather it later. Oh, actually weather on the Siege Row is also terrible, so I should have just Lacerated the front row, I guess. Okay, that's basically a blank from our opponent, so that's good. First Light might not do it. First Light plus Frost does the trick, though. And we're not going to need to use this. Yeah, we actually kind of do. Let's use Frost now and see what happens. I think we Frost and then hope he does not have a torrential rain, because that would be... Well, if he rains... Yeah, if he rains, then that sucks. And we need to clear skies, and we're kinda screwed. Okay, and now we rally and we win. Hooray. Because anything we get is good enough. Alright, that was surprisingly close. But a good game regardless. Alright. You had me worried there a little bit. And we did have to... oh, hello. Did I actually lose that because of a last-minute disconnect, really? How does that work? I won that game! What? Are you kidding me? Well, I'm doing a quick restart. Be right back. Alright, looks like a bad day to be playing ranked, and that's good because we were playing casual anyway. Let's go and find a new opponent. I hope this doesn't happen too often anymore, because I'm known to get really salty when stuff happens that's totally not my fault. That's one of my weaknesses, I guess. But I can get really salty about stuff like that.
My
so
folk have suffered much.
let's hope for the best. It hasn't been too bad today, but it has been in the past, unfortunately. All right, so let's go for the standard mulligan strategy again. Against what are we playing against again? Can we hide this, please? It's against monsters again, but I do think... Well, let's start with the commando. And then I think Vanguard, although I do kind of like Vanguard. I'm not really sure whether this is the correct strategy, but we shall see, I guess. Ignore in the first round. As usual, the Scoia'Tael faction ability lets you choose who goes first, once per game. Once per match, actually. We're starting, so what do we start with? That's a great question. We could actually start out with Firebolt Trap, and then see if we can get some commandos going. That's not the worst idea I've ever heard, so well, let's go with that. As long as your opponent does not have any strength on the board, then Firebolt Trap is fine. You do have to be careful about your opponent passing. Oh, I should plug in my PC. Why didn't I not remember to do that? I hope this doesn't make too much noise. Alright, shooting a Manticore, that's okay. How do we react to this one? That's a good question. I think we can relatively safely do a first light. We have 5 specials in hand, that's a bit much. But we can mercenary into our last first light, so that's okay. Commando to reset the trap, that's okay. And final card would be... Yeah, I think most instances of this should be fine. We have the Trapper in hand, so that's fine. And this brings us up to 10 strength, which is also excellent. Alright. You do have to carefully consider whether all of the results for your first light are actually relevant to the situation at hand. So, for example, if you have no special cards left in your deck, then the Mercenary is relatively meaningless, of course. If you have no minions on the board yourself, then a Commando would be relatively crappy. And that is something to keep in mind at all times. I think I like a Trapper on the ranged row, although that does run the risk, of course, of being of our opponent passing, and we have to play another card, and then we're 2 cards behind. Although I guess we do win the round with a 2-card disadvantage, that's relatively okay. I'm a little hesitant of playing the Trapper without any without an advantage, basically. So let's actually go with first light here. Rally a Commando, alright, I think I like that. And let's reset the Fireball Trap, because that is actually good when you're ahead in strength. I was thinking Trapper on the ranged row, because if our opponent would fog, then the Foglets would appear, and all of the Foglets would die, and this guy would reset to 1 strength. So that's a pretty good deal, I'd say. But of course, something to be careful about is if you're not ahead in strength when you play a trap, then your opponent can just pass without triggering the trap. and then you're kind of behind. So of course there's also the risk of you playing Siren or Teruvio, which would kind of which would make the decision to pass kind of risky. Let's see, we could Yennefer here, which I don't hate. The alternative would be to Hawker Healer, which is kind of okay. Alternatives, we still actually do have a First Light in our deck, so that's okay. We can mulligan into that one. I kind of want to use either the Hawker Healer or the Yennefer here. And Yennefer, we have 1 minion more than our opponent, so we get 10 strength out of Yennefer. That's fine if a bit much. Hawker Healer is actually with the Manticore on the field, he doesn't want to rain anyway, so I think I'm going with the Hawker Healer here. Yennefer is better if you are not already committed to 1 row. Because then you can add strength to your board without overcommitting into rain, which is what makes Yennefer actually a decent pick in a deck like this. She's surprisingly versatile, actually. In case you don't know how Yennefer works, by the way, you can either spawn a minion that adds 2 strength to everything other than itself, or a minion that removes 2 strength from everything. So it's good in situations where you and your opponent have widely different unit counts. So if you're more than 2 units ahead of your opponent, then you want to use Unicorn, so you can have Yennefer swing for potentially 12 or something. Or if you have drastically less minions than your opponent on the battlefield, then you can use the Yennefer for -2 to also get a big advantage. Let's see, we have 17 strength in the melee row, so Igni is not yet active. We could Lacerate, I suppose, which is not awful. Strength is tight, which is a little tricky. He still hasn't used the Fog, which actually kind of puzzles me. We're now slightly behind the minion count, so Yennefer is only a 7 strength. Just her and the Unicorn, and then it adds an equal amount to both players. So that doesn't really help. It's actually counterproductive because of the monster passive. I think we Lacerate here, that's relatively okay. It kind of makes the monster passive better, but it's not that great to begin with. I think I'm okay with this. The Trapper feels risky when you're not ahead in strength, so I don't like using that here. Only makes the monster passive slightly stronger. That's always the consideration you have to make when you're playing against a monster player, because you might be able to easily remove a lot of their minions from the board, but you kind of don't want to, because weak minions make the passive for the monster player a lot weaker, which is actually really interesting. We can Scourge our own commando, so let's not do that. We can actually Aeromancy, which I feel is a rather... Oh, but Aeromancy wrecks our own siege row, of course, so we don't want to do that. We cannot Igni. Yennefer is relatively meaningless. I don't like this at all. I guess we could mulligan some of these cards away. We could just pass, but I don't like that. I guess we use Yennefer, and then... Does not really matter. Yeah, the Unicorn is slightly better. Although it does buff their minions by a little bit. I think it's going to be Yennefer with Unicorn. I don't like the position we're in here. Actually, Yennefer is kind of suboptimal in this situation anyway, because if we're buffing their minions, then they get 2 extra strength for the next round, but if we're giving everything -2, then he loses Eredin, which means he gets to keep a larger minion on average. Although I guess all of his minions do lose 2 strength, so it's going to be better overall, I think. That's a really weird calculation. So we're actually okay in the strength balance here. but one little card from our opponent could easily swing this back. Let's keep in mind we also still have a Scorch, so if our opponent plays a 10 strength minion or buffs his Manticore, for example, then we could get some use out of that. That could actually be pretty good. Unfortunately, we don't have a Lacerate anymore. He does have 20 strength on the melee row, but Igni only removes 4 strength right now. I don't like committing this much on the first round, because it also makes Francesca weaker. If you have less options in your hand to discard, then of course your options to redraw will also be weaker, because you might have to throw away weak cards. Or strong cards, whatever. I do think Igni is our weakest card right now, so I don't hate playing him right now. Just Igni to kill the 4 on his side. That does swing the balance back in our favor. Needs to play an 8 to catch up again. I'm surely mulliganing away the Trapper with Francesca later. And I'm really hoping our opponent just passes right now, but he seems to be really unwilling to do that. But we have some rather weak draws in our deck with Siron and Siri too, so we really want to win this first game, so those cards become a lot better in the second round, should we draw them or mulligan into them. So that is pretty important. So here's to hoping he either passes or makes one of his minions bigger than our commando, so we can Scorch him. Because that would be a good turn. I don't know any other good turns, unfortunately. Aromancy seems weak, so might want to mulligan that away also. Ooh, now he's committing. Alright. Wow. Does he have the Foglets? He does have the Foglets. Alright. I am not liking this at all. That is a really big, scary board, so we may just have to pass here. Kind of makes me wish I placed the Firebolt. I placed the Trapper in the melee row. But can't do that anymore. There's very little we can do right now. If I Francesca here, he's just going to pass, I feel. So not much we can do about this here. Scorch still kills our own unit, which is really awkward. Yeah, this is going to be a pass, and that really sucks. At least he might get to keep a really weak unit. Chances are he gets to keep a relatively weak one, so that's okay. As long as it's not the Ancient Foglet, I would have been fine. And keeping a Foglet, of course, is excellent, so I'm liking that. I am liking life right now. He won the last round, so I'm okay with ignoring here, because I usually want my opponent to go first in nearly every case. He might just go for the win this round, which is a little worrisome. Let's actually check his graveyard to see what he ate. I thought it was a Foglet at first, but he ate a Wildhunt Hound. That's not too significant. If he actually ate a Foglet, that could have been good for us. Okay, so we can Frost to negate this guy, which is good. What do we expect him to have? He might have a Fog, actually. How are we doing on specials? We still have a First Light in our deck, right? So we may want a Mercenary first to get the First Light, plus another card out of there. And I think I like that idea. Because in most occasions we're actually going to play this card, so I'm okay with that. That does mean we don't have any First Lights anymore. Mercenary for Mercenary, well, that's fine. At least we're equal in power right now.
Have strength, my love.
A little worried about a possible Water Hag, but that's, yeah. He didn't have it last round, so it would have to be in his top 2 cards. The chance is not that big, to be honest. And this looks like a really good Frost for us, so I'm not throwing away the Aromancy right now. I don't like the Trapper. Do we Aromancy right now, or do we wait until he's passed. I think we can Francesca and see if he
You
passes.
do what must be done.
Which would be a good move for him, I think. Let's throw away the Trapper, which I don't like. We get Ciri, which is actually terrible, because we've already lost a round. Hawker, Healer, not incredibly excited, so let's also throw that one away. And this is actually a really good card right now, so I'm liking this. Let's see if he passes. That would not be unreasonable. But I could see him committing a little more. You certainly don't expect weather out of a Scoia'Tael opponent, so that's good for us. Do we go with Yarpen here? Or do we want to Frost right away? I think we're going Yarpen, because we kind of always want to play this, so that's fine. If we knew we got Yarpen, then we could have actually kept the Hawker Healer, because Hawker Healer's pretty good with units that tend to stick around. This is really a thinker's deck, and I have a newfound respect for Scoia'Tael opponents right now. Let's see, is there any option? What is our Nature's Gift right now? It is a Clear Skies effect, but that doesn't really do a whole lot for us. So let's just go and Frost here. It's not going to be that great in the last round. We needed to grab this round, which kinda sucks because we're down a card. Of course, the full Scoia'Tael deck does include a lot of more ways to actually get some card advantage, and we are kind of reliant on making that work with the what's it called? You get to start, dear opponent. Making that work with the Siren and the Ciri. And since we didn't get any in the first round, perhaps we should have used Francesca in the first round to see if we could get a Ciri or a Siren. To make the loss less painful. That seems like a really odd play, sir. I'm not sure I agree. This is also a really weak card right now. Wow, I'm actually amazed. Commando is never going to be good, so let's go and play that one. He hasn't shown to have a rain yet. Actually, we can use this to move Yarpen away if he has a rain. Perhaps that's better than the alternative. Let's start with Triss. Would like to use her for better effect, but just getting the safe body out on the field, I think, is a lot more meaningful. And if he has, well, I guess he had an Elzer's Thunder, so that's a little unfortunate. But that was gonna happen regardless, right? So we now have an Elzer's Thunder on the Nature's Gift, which is good. So let's go with the Commando in the Siege Row. If he uses an Elzer's Thunder on the Siege Row, then he definitely does not have any fog, any rain, right? And might as well just kill a Foglet right now. Oh, actually, we should not have used that. I should learn to use that card properly. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. And that actually just lost us the game. It could have been a tie if I hadn't used that. Wow. That was horrible. Okay, I should learn to use Nature's Gift more properly. I'm not ready for Scoia'Tael on the ladder yet, guys. I'm absolutely horrible. There's a lot of stuff you have to keep track of. People have actually said that that Francesca, even though everyone starts out with Francesca as the Scoia'Tael leader, is actually probably the hardest leader for Scoia'Tael. With Brother Hoog being probably the easiest, although it's kind of debatable, because Ethne is relatively strong and also relatively straightforward, actually. Perhaps Ethne was the easiest one. Because it's relatively straightforward what you can do with Ethne. You could have a number of decent options, and there's the decision of whether you want to save Ethne for a very specific ability on a monster to trigger that. Because Ethne, as you may or may not know, lets you retake a minion from the board to your hand and then play it again immediately. So you get to reuse some of your come into play effects. which can be really powerful, but it's relatively straightforward what you should do with Ethne. You get to play a special from your deck if you target a mercenary. You get to buff your row if you have a hawker healer. You get to replay a special card with Egglaze if you have that card. And Browver actually, well, most of the decision making involved in Browver actually happens in deck construction, because Browver lets you search your deck for a silver card and then play it immediately. Let's go with First Light here, and then throw away a mercenary. Ignore faction ability. So Browver lets you play a silver card from your deck, and that means that that you definitely want to include 6 silver cards in your deck, but that goes without saying, I think. Let's start with the Fireball Trap, I think. Or we could save it for the next round, but starting out with the Fireball Trap, if you get to start, then a Fireball Trap is reasonable. Because the board is still even, so if our opponent passes here, then it doesn't really do too much for him. It forces us to play another card, but I'll trade 2 cards for a win most of the time. We can recoup that in the second round with these 2 here. That is a little sucky. I thought that would trigger on all of the hounds actually, but unfortunately it doesn't. I may have to rethink my motivations here. That is a rather strong start. Should we go with Elven Mercenary? That could get us... What could it get? Nature's Gift, which does nothing. Or First Light, basically. That sounds terrible. Let's go with another trap. That was a wasted Fireball Trap, but we might convince our opponent to play some additional cards here, and that is fine.
Death comes for you.
Kills the Fireball Trap. Well, that's not too impressive. We didn't have any commandos either, so... could play Ciri, could not play Ciri. We're going to lose this round anyway, so might as well try. If our opponent passes here, can we grab the round? That's a great question. We have a 12 point here, so we could go up to 18. Well, relatively, of course, we could go up to 18. I think playing additional cards here is wrong for our opponent because we're just grabbing back our cards. I don't think this round is worth fighting for. We've lost a lot of value on that Fireball Trap, so that was a good decision to go with Caranthir there. That's not Caranthir, by the way. That is Woodland Spirits. There we go. I can remember names sometimes. So I just grabbed these 2 back. Our opponent gets to keep nothing because Foglets are awkward, and we get some reasonable cards. All right. So our opponent won. They can certainly start this round again. And let's see what we're up against. We are 2 cards up now, but we may want to kill that. I don't hate killing that, because we don't really have a great way to deal with minions that run out of hand, and we can't expect our opponent to run out enough weather to make Igni useful. Or enough units in the siege row, I suppose. Don't mind lacerating this, although we could also wait until some more minions appear. That is a little risky. Could just go with Francesca here to gather some additional options. I don't hate that. I actually don't hate that. Any alternatives? We could Mercenary for First Light, which is not awful. There's still 2 First Lights in our deck, so that's fine. But let's go with the Mulligan first. Make sure to throw away Seeron. Most of the cards are already on our blacklist. This one is not, so let's throw that one right back. And now throw away Ciri. Actually, perhaps that wasn't necessary. Perhaps that was not necessary. And here's also the reason why Trapper is not that great in our deck, because we don't include the Scoia'Tael Spy. We can't really trigger our own trap, so that's kind of a problem, to be honest. Because the trapper looks really nice in the melee row, but there's absolutely no guarantee of our opponent actually playing more minions into the melee row. He kind of has no reason to do that, so that would just make us waste a card at this point. And that is a little awkward, to say the least. I think this is worth using a mercenary to grab a first light. So let's go for the siege row and clear the weather. Because I would like to keep my Yarpen around for the next round, and this also gives us a nice little strength buffer, so we're able to... Ooh, that is a big one. Alright, so he eats all the small dudes, or does he eat the water hag? I think I would eat the water hag here, but I'm not really sure why. Alright, well, that's an interesting card. That is 31, so we have some work cut out for us here. Let's see. To be able to win this round, we need a bigger siege row. So I think we can mercenary into first light again. That does make our last mercenary really weak, but that's just a price to pay, I guess. Let's rally. Hope to get something... This is not very good, because as we just discovered, our last mercenary is really weak. But at least we get some extra minions in the siege row. This does nothing... I guess there's no reason to let our opponent know we don't have any specials left in our deck, but that is a very minute advantage. I don't think that's worth worrying about, to be honest. We need a big siege row here to be able to Hawker Healer up and grab the advantage. Again, we might have considered actually dropping a special card in our mulligan phase. Is this the only way to win here? I kind of think it is. We could first light, but that's a little risky. If we, for example, get another commando, then it doesn't quite do the trick. This also first light. Lacerate doesn't give us 7. And Hawker Healer also buffs this guy, so I guess that's actually nice. I shouldn't worry too much about it. Time to pass. We are 1 card up, so let's see if that's enough for the last round. Of course, Scoia'Tael, as usual, runs a lot of small minions. That's a good result for us, so that's nice. And we actually won a round, so let's have our opponent start the last one. Siri, not a great draw, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Oh, that's an interesting card also. Alright, I guess we can actually Torrential Rain now. Oh, actually this one is immune to that, so there goes that plan. We might just trapper his siege row. What else goes into the siege row for monsters? Not a whole lot, so I guess that's not actually what we want to do. Let's play Siri and see what our opponent does first. I'm not really sure what to expect here. We could first light into a commando to reset our Yarpen, which is not terrible. He's got some reasonable cards. Can we expect him to have another fog effect? I think we can. So in that case, a trapper in the ranged row is really good. So we kind of want to try that at the very least. Could also lacerate that, of course, but it's hard to play around everything, I suppose. Not looking too good for us. We're kind of lacking in decent options. What is our Nature's Gift? Still a rally effect? Do we need a way to clear weather? We're not that worried about the ranged row, to be honest, so I guess I'm actually fine throwing away the first light here and see if our opponent, for example, has a better special card that we would like to use. I guess I can't really imagine a better special card. Maybe a Commander's Horn, actually. That would be reasonable. Let's rally, see what we get. And that's pretty much what we've been hoping for, so that's nice. Let's see what happens. Oh, so if he frosts, he's actually not gaining that much, so that's good to know. I certainly don't want to frost myself, but that's for another time. I guess we just rally again. because the other cards have more potential, in my opinion. A little dangerous if he now reigns, actually. Alright, I guess we win. That was rather tight. I didn't think that was a clear-cut win, but perhaps the rest of the cards in our opponent's hand were actually terrible. So we did win that one. I'm not sure we would have won against possibly a better hand from our opponent, but that turned out to be nice. I'll give this deck some more tries. Almost level 20, of course. So let's go and get that decoy pretty soon. I'll be back with the full version of the deck next time. I think it's time to actually start crafting some cards. Sitting on a lot of dust here. Actually, for the final part of this episode, let's just go and buy a keg. Because why not? I'm still looking for my second and third Murdrumi, because they are really being elusive right now. And the card is oh. Well, speak of the devil, there's the second one, so certainly happy with that. And this is actually a rare. I don't already have 3 cups up, so that's also, well, it's not the most exciting booster you've ever seen, but this is definitely above average for me, so that's good. Anyway, I'll be back with a different deck sometime soon. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.